right. Hello, everyone. Krista Lindquist here. I'm a traveling intuitive guide and yoga teacher and first-time author of the Daisy Diaries, my personal memoir. It's a true story of one woman's unusual journey through tragedy, triumph, and transformation, written by yours truly. And I am here with beautiful Melissa Jolly Graves, who was a huge influence on my spiritual path. She's included in the book in our really significant chance meeting, divine timing, and our work together. At the time, she was a Reiki healer and teacher, and we met through doing some Reiki sessions together. It was my first time being exposed to Reiki, and today I'm going to ask her a few questions and get into a discussion on how we work together and how that went and how much it really influenced my journey and how it made such a huge impact on my ability to move forward on my spiritual path and really find freedom and fulfillment in my life. And we're going to learn a little bit more about her perspective. So a little bit more on Melissa. She's an associational thinker and a seer whose mission is to enlighten the world, bring truth, and showcase people's inner beauty. And she certainly did that for me. So Melissa, thank you so much for joining me today. Gosh, and it's been a while too. So of the 20-year timeline that is captured in the Daisy Diaries, you and I first met in early 2015, about 14 years into the story. So at that time, I was a new engineer in the corporate world and struggling to grieve the recent loss of my father. I didn't yet know how much meeting you and experiencing Reiki was going to influence my spiritual path. But I'd like to ask you, what was your first impression of meeting me?
Well, let me see. So right off the bat, I knew you were a good person. I knew that you definitely had hidden talents and you did not know yourself at all. You were in the corporate world. I loved your fashion. You were very, everything was planned. Everything was on time. Everything was very boxed, strategic. Led by how your mother's opinion was, how your workers' opinion was. You led your life by the opinions of others. And this was when I first met you of that challenge where I felt like your dad was coming through to say, oh, I really see you now. I'm on the other side. I really see you now. My daughter can be amazing, And so I feel like that was actually your first cheerleader per se, on your side. And it was just, how can we get this girl to wake up? You were jittery in the mind. You weren't stopping your thinking. You had no focus except for the things that you had scheduled for. I guess would be the best way to put it. Very much trained by society.
That, as much as I'd hate to admit, but I mean, thank goodness, all timing is divine and how it all unfolded so perfectly, but you hit it pretty spot on. Being so heavy into the corporate world, I was a new engineer, just learning the ropes, and how you just described me, I guess would describe a perfect engineer, right? Very planning and strategic, and, everything fits into its proper box. But I knew, there's something screaming inside that like something isn't right here. And so you and I, we ended up doing several at-home Reiki sessions together, those being my very first experiences, and which I describe, from my beginner's perspective in the Daisy Diaries. So for those of you that aren't familiar with Reiki or any kind of energy healing, you will learn and experience it firsthand right alongside with me. But I'd like to ask you, Melissa, a little bit more about your experience in that. Like you've already described, that I was very busy in the mind and just very focused, on getting the things done on the to-do list. And there was something blocking inside. Were there any specific energy blocks that you immediately noticed within me?
Well, I don't like to use the word energy blocks because when we have blocks, it means that we're cut off from the rest of the world. But I would say you definitely had guards open. Heart was very sad, very non-trusting. over falling in love or even being loved by your family members. Like, I'm gonna get emotional thinking about it because I'm gotta step into that mind frame of where you were. You had a very much can do outside attitude with a can't do mind frame. And so it was, I know I can do what I can do at the job, but I don't know that I can be the best me. And so I would say that your perspective was off on a lot of your reality, but I wouldn't say it was necessarily blocks. I would say that your mind frame at that time was looking in the place you shouldn't have been looking in. And once you started diverting that and really maybe looking away from the house that you kept looking in the windows to and just went the opposite way and took a walk in nature and started hanging out with the forests and the lands, that was your home and that was your beauty and that was the thing that was growing you. And so it's been beautiful watching you look from the outside and then take a step in, because you were very much looking at the world for who you were. And as I said before, you were listening to their perspectives and opinions. But at some point you said, I don't want to look at anyone else's life anymore. I want to be me and I want to be free. And I'm going to do it. I'm going to get an RV and I'm going to go travel the world because I want to look at all the windows and all the roads and all of the different places, because that's me. The
Right.
free spirited person, the one who doesn't make plans. And instead, when I'm stuck in a river, rather than being, okay, well, I'm going to catch this tree and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this, and then missing all of those opportunities, it was like you just saw a log come by and you're like, well, I'm riding this wherever it goes. It's the safest thing right now. And that full spectrum attitude change, what a blessing to witness. And I know these people are going to love the book because there's so many other people doing that, right? They're living by the social norms, but it goes against their inner norm. And now you're the most normal I've ever seen you.
I know, which might be like the weirdest I've ever been to many other people, but you're so right. And I love that you saw that. Like, that's why I knew, I didn't understand it at the time, but I knew something I could feel within me knew that you could see my truth even more than I could at the time. And that's why I really wanted to work with you, why I was so curious about Reiki and about healing and clearing my energy, because I knew I was putting guards up and I didn't know how to take them down. Because you're right, I was so externally focused, as like you said, most people are. And I hope for any of you that feel like, you've been living through life trying to please everyone else and seeking all these external, validations, that really the truth that you're seeking, the answers you seek are within. And until we're willing to turn inward and go there, we can't see it. And that's what Melissa definitely did for me. I love that you brought up, that you just need to get out in nature, go be in nature. That's your home. That's your happy place. And this is something that you said a good, at least 5 years before I ended up getting in an RV and traveling that way. At the time, again, I was taking in all this information, like, I don't know what she's talking about. This is crazy, like the things that she's telling me that I should be doing. But let me tell you, every single thing that you called out ended up unfolding in my life. And it wasn't until it started unfolding, and maybe even much longer after, that it would suddenly click and hit me. Oh my gosh, Melissa said this years ago, and here it's happening right now. I had no idea how it was going to unfold, what it would look like, but I recognize it now. So I'd like to back up a little bit on that and ask you, like, what were some of the other visions that you saw during our Reiki sessions? I know you told me a number of things, of where I was compared to where you saw me being. And at the time, it made no sense to me at all, but it's just mind blowing how now I'm literally sitting perhaps where you saw me at that time.
Yeah. Well, that was the goal, right? So when I go into people, I see coding, I see shapes and colors and frequencies. I don't necessarily see who they have become in this world. I see who they are in their spirit. because everybody has a divine mission and coding prior to coming this world, and it's all nice and packaged for them. And then all of a sudden, boom, we hit the birthing canal. And now not only are we us, but we have to take in the coding of the doctors, of the nurses, of the mother, of the father, of, anybody we come into contact with throughout of our life. And that's what starts to break us. So what I saw was the broken pieces of you, but then I also saw the final product. How do we get her there? And what are the things in life that we need to adapt to, grow with, fall into, and then adjust. And I guess with you, I saw who you are today, really, and then some. I know you're going to be doing more and talking and writing more and bigger classes. So I'm actually seeing you kind of today, maybe in this, like you just started your little race. You still have a lot more to go. But I saw who God and you decided you needed to be.
Yes.
And so working through that, and then the emotions. I know Cody in the car accident was so hard for you, and he was so persistent in coming through a few times. And just it's hard to say I saw this specifically because it's a lot of Codians, but then it's just emotions or people coming through to say, tell her this, or little tidbits of your life that needed to be showcased to say, hey, I saw this. Maybe you want to take care of this kind of thing. But no, in any healing, I see the potential of who everyone can be, and we work towards that.
Yes. Yes. I will never forget again, from my perspective shared totally in great detail in the Daisy Diaries. But one of the most profound things you told me was a moment where you actually laughed at me that you are not at all where you're going to be. And I'm thinking, I just started my engineering career. Like, what do you mean? Like, this is supposed to be my future, right? This is the plan. You're like, oh no, you need to be teaching and writing. And at that time I thought, teach what? Write about what? And here I am, a yoga teacher and intuitive guide, and I'm about to publish my first book. So I've got to thank you so much, Melissa, for helping open my eyes to that. Because perhaps even though my heart was calling for that and that was my destiny, who knows how much longer I could have been resisting it had I not reached out and started working with you. So it's just amazing. After a few years, we did several at-home Reiki sessions, and then I learned that you were doing Reiki level 1 attunement. So I joined that and got attuned. And then a few more years passed before we united again for more Reiki and more energy healing. And now here I am living a completely different reality than when we first met, although it's probably a lot more familiar to you.
Yes.
But what other changes? I mean, we've already discussed a lot of the changes that we've seen, but is there anything else that you've noticed, that you've really enjoyed watching over these last 6 years?
Oh my goodness. Wow. Really? Okay. I'm going to put it like this, and I'm just putting it like this because this is the vision that I'm seeing. So I'm just going to say it this way because I have the guide saying, you were like a puppy or maybe a younger dog who did not seem to have direction in your spirituality, or how to grow or how to be trained. And it was almost like they're just showing me having you at the little orphanage, or where the animal shelter. And then somebody took you out and gave you love and gave you a little bit direction. But then you were, well, I got this. I want my freedom. And I want to go out into the world and explore. So you had enough energy and enough love, and then enough guidance from your own intuition and your God and your creator, whatever that is, that you realized, I don't need anyone else. I don't need anyone guiding me. I don't need anyone telling me what to do. I don't need anything. I got this on my own, and I know I'm a survivor. and I know I can do this. And your confidence just grew so much that now you're that stray dog kind of walking the lands, but living life the best. And so that's one thing they wanted to show, is that you went from this like having no guidance to almost being beaten by the world. And then the owners didn't want you. And now you're caged animal and you have no idea what you're supposed to do. So I just got to act right and wag my tail and make anyone else happy. And then all of a sudden the doors open for you. You got a little love and you're like, whew, well, I can love myself like this. See you. And then left. But all in all, in your journey, it was really amazing. You know, like I said, you were a stereotypical at the time, female living in this world. You know, I care how I look, how I act, how people perceive me, how I work.
Especially as a single mom too.
Yeah,
yes, huge. Trying to wear all of the hats. Yes.
Yes. And you really were. And I could just see it was wearing at you, and your spirit was just like trying to almost like not putting head, you didn't have your V8 today kind of thing. And then it went from a huge struggle. I remember watching your huge struggle of, okay, well, I know that this isn't right. The corporate's not right. This life isn't right. I don't know what to do. I got to do something. And then it was almost like you kind of fell into yoga, and then, okay, well, I think this might work for me. And then you got that. But during that time, I also saw a change in dynamics with friends that you were talking to, the way that you were speaking on even Facebook. I could see the most beautiful thing that I've got to witness on your journey wasn't yours. It was your daughter's. Because I remember seeing how structured she was and how she wanted to live this life that you were very much like, no, we don't act that way. We don't be this way. We don't whatever. And watching the pictures of just, okay, I'm here to just this full glow and smile shows me the change in motherhood, the full spectrum from going from a lady to a woman. And that's huge for females this day, because so many are stuck in the girl and the lady, but to be a woman is different. So now your woman is, I'm going to take care of everyone, where before you didn't have that ability. You were just like, it's me and my daughter and my work, and that's all I have energy for. And now you're taking care of others. You're teaching others. You're stepping back in stressful situations, and I can see that, and it's not bothering you as much anymore. It is, okay, well, good, this stressful situation came. How am I going to warrior through this one now? Rather than crying and I need you and my whole life is falling apart, to ownership of your own life and not needing crutches for anybody else. And then just the development of loving yourself enough to write a book about yourself. Like, wow, awesome. Because that love wasn't there when I first saw you. You were beaten down by the world and thinking nobody wanted to take you out of that cage. Nobody would adopt you. Nobody would love you without you acting the way that they wanted. And now I see you acting and saying, love me or not, this is me. And it's so much more beautiful and flowing and going, and you're taking risks. You have spontaneity. I didn't know you had it in you.
I know.
What?
Oh my
gosh. What? Your eyes are wide. You found faith again. I remember when I first saw you, you're like, there's a God, I think. Yep. Tell me about this. And now
I was definitely questioning it at that time.
Now sure. Yeah. And now you're like, I'm going to do it with a leap of faith. God's got my back, just like, wow. I mean, and this hasn't been a long journey, and people need to understand that. I mean, yeah, 6 years seems long, but realistically, You did a 360. You changed your motherhood, you changed your job, you change your relationship status. You're bringing people into your heart and in happy relationships. Boundaries. Oh my gosh, you did not know how to set boundaries. That was one of the worst things for you to do.
Absolutely. I was
What? I
saying
have to be
yes
assertive
to
and stick up.
everything. Yep.
Yes. And so,
Pleasing everyone else. And I'm sure this has got to be a familiar story to so many of you that are listening.
yes.
That's why I had to write the book, to share that if I were able to do this and find this profound level of freedom and self-love, like Melissa said, the self-love is what's got to come first, and everything else changes. And you can read it right from my perspective, from every mistake, every trial and error, all the ups and downs. You'll learn firsthand exactly how I took every step of the way. But Melissa, I love that you made probably the most important point on this, is that the major transformation you saw wasn't even necessarily within me, but within my daughter. I mean, my daughter, you'll learn, was like my life-saving grace, her coming in so early in my life. I became a mother just before 19. And I realized, thinking I have to do all of these things and I must, work as an engineer and do, have this great job so I can provide for her. But it was stressing us out so much. And now with all of these changes that I've made on the journey, I have never been closer to her than ever before. And now I sit here with a 13-year-old who is willing to live with me in a tiny RV and travel the country, and we're having a great time. So again, I thank you so much for working with me and seeing the light within me and helping me step onto that path. And it's been such an honor, still being in touch and being able to share our journeys together as we made our way along. I mean, I can't imagine where I'd be without having met you. I have, and I always will consider you a great mentor, a huge role model, and a friend in my life. And you created such a major impact on my spiritual and career path, calling out where I needed to be long before I knew what that looked like. And I can't wait to share all of those details in the Daisy Diaries. So now that it's finally ready for publication, Melissa, what do you think readers will enjoy and gain most from reading it?
Well, first, I'm going to comment on what you were just commenting on, because one thing you need to do is thank yourself for showing up for yourself.
Yes.
You were your greatest
So
mentor.
true.
You were your
Yeah.
greatest pusher and your greatest cheerleader. And that's what it takes. And I'm really hoping that from this book, that's what other people are going to take, is say, wait a second, I was divinely made. I was absolutely perfect. But in order to go and achieve the I'm perfect, we have to go through the imperfect, right? And then change that perspective a little bit so that we have a new reality. And I hope that you being, vulnerable will allow other people to say, yeah, that was my spot, because we need realism more than anything in this world. We need to get the connection, to get the empathy, to get the feelings back, because when we can feel, then we can connect. And when we connect, then we have a place of understanding and learning. And so while you're looking at this book, know that this is not her life. This is not her journey. This is nowhere she ever thought of. I remember the deer in the headlights look that you made when you're like, wait, what? No, no, it's not, honey. Job. But you're going to find courage. You're going to find tears. You're going to find fear within yourself. You're going to find your pain and why you had to go through it, lessons, and to see that other people are doing this. That's the thing, is that it's scary when you're doing it alone. And sometimes just having a book in your hand doesn't make it so lonely. It's that physical thing. Plus you get the emotions with it. So like you said, they're going to be on your journey with them, but also you're going to be on their journey with them. And that's going to be really amazing too. So hopefully people see this is real. This This is raw. This is humanity. This is the steps all of us are here to take. Pain is a rite of passage. And that's, the first time that we know it's time to come is when mom cries, when she screams, and I'm gonna have that baby, and then we hear the scream. Okay, it must be our time, and then stepping from spirituality to this little dense, tiny body with all that information, that's painful for children. So coming into that, going through the death of people, going through relationship breakups, going through our parents or our family or our friends putting us down, these can all be beautiful gifts. And if utilized properly, the gifts will teach you how to embrace, love yourself, and build yourself to be a warrior rather than a victim. And that was one thing. You were a victim to your own life, and you fought through your challenges, and you came back a warrior. And I hope everyone finds out how to be a warrior and how to change their self. I just actually posted today, in order to make a change in the world, we must have people willing to make a change within themselves. And you did. And that's amazing. And thank you also for letting me be that part of that journey. You were one of my first clients too. I was just starting, going house to house with a little suitcase and whatnot before I had started. And I learned a lot from you and doing the energy work and stuff that we went through too. So that was pretty amazing.
Right. I mean, the divine timing of how we all cross paths with the people that we're meant to. But Melissa, I couldn't have said any of that better. That's exactly the purpose of this book, is to just share an example and to make that connection, right? We're all human. This life is not easy, and we tend to make it a lot harder for ourselves than it needs to be. So may those of you that read the Daisy Diaries, may you make that connection. May you find more compassion for yourself, for your own journey, and may you find courage to step off on your own path of healing and spirituality and fulfillment, because it is yours to take. It is your life to create. So those that haven't signed up yet, you can get on the wait list for pre-release and get all the latest updates on the Daisy Diaries at thedaisydiariesbook.com. You can also learn more about me, Krista Lindquist, at jraywellness.com. And you can learn more about Melissa too. Check out all of the details in the description below for our contact information. And you'll be seeing some more from us before the book gets released, and hopefully thereafter. And I can't wait to share it all with you. But thank you again, Melissa, for joining me today, for your great influence on my journey. And I can't wait to see how our paths continue to cross in the future.
Me too. It's only going to get better from here. Like I said, you're just starting that mountain. I can't wait till you're up there high.
All right. Well, Melissa, I'll see you, and I will see everyone else at the top of our mountain, right? We're onward and upward. Yes. So thank you again so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.